Greetings and salutations to all of you wonderful, fluffy-faced listeners and those who are not fluffy-faced, but maybe at some point in the future, who knows. I'm going to continue working on that intro. I hope you all are doing well. I hope you are enjoying your weekend, or what was the weekend, anyway, because I got to remember that it's Monday as the time that I'm recording this. It's all a blur. I will tell you with full transparency that I am currently horizontal, laying on my back with the microphone dangling over me because I can't be bothered to move right now. And the reason is because I am officially back from Midwest FurFest 2024. And oh my gosh, was it ever a time. The reason I'm horizontal, as you can imagine, is a full convention weekend, but also I drove a total of, I want to say, like 13 hours round trip from Wednesday to today. And, excuse me, and I'm a little, how do I say, sore, stiff, everything feels like it is seized up and I just need to be in a different position that doesn't require me to operate any vehicles or walk 15,000 steps a day. So, what a time that convention was. I will get into it very shortly here. But first, a word from our sponsor, which I don't actually have any sponsors, but this portion of the podcast is brought to you by Midwest Furry Fandom. Pardon me. Excuse me. Coughing. I may or may not have gotten a little bit of con crud. I don't know yet, but it's always after a weekend of being around people that I feel a little, there's a little tickle in the throat right now. So I have been, like, for example, this morning I woke up around 9 to pack and get ready to go from the con, and I did not have a voice. Yes, the Kitty Fox that does ASMR for a living on YouTube did not have a voice this morning. I sounded to the equivalent of Brad Garrett and probably Brad Garrett with bronchitis. That's what I sounded like. My voice was all the way down here and I couldn't talk. So a little bit of water, a little bit of, resting the voice on the drive, and I was able to get it back some, but I'm still reeling a little bit. I'm not sick. I don't have any symptoms. I'm just a little, just a little stuffed. That's all. So, but hey, you're going to get that with any con. You're going to get a little bit of something. So hopefully it's not con crud. We'll see. But let's get into this past weekend, which was MFF, Midwest FurFest, in Chicago, Illinois. What can I say? It was something. I'll start with Wednesday. So I went to work on Wednesday, which I feel like was a mistake because I left from work to go to the convention straight. So I had packed up all my stuff early in the morning. I spent the better part of 3 days packing all my stuff for the con, but I woke up supremely early on Wednesday morning, got all my stuff together, threw it in the car, and then I went to work. And I worked a full shift, and then immediately left from work. I basically stripped off all my work clothes, put on my convention clothes, and ran to the car. I went and got a friend of mine who is local, who rode with me to the convention. Shout out to Wiley. And we set off around 4:30 p.m. to the convention. And it was torrential. Okay, I swear we went through every single season, driving on the turnpike from Upper Ohio to Chicago. We had sunshine, we had a little bit of rain, we had a whiteout winter storm, and then we had what felt like high winds. Suddenly got the hiccups. Excuse me. I shouldn't be laying down for this. This is a bad idea, but hey, we ball, right? So, yeah, basically 4 different seasons in a 6 hour drive. And it had gotten dark very early because of the time change. So, somewhere between Indiana and Illinois, the time switches. So, you fall back an hour, meaning that it gets darker earlier. So, we were driving mostly through the dark. And I was really, really trying to maintain going through those high winds, especially the snowstorm, and keeping in my lane, trying to get to this convention. That was probably one of the more difficult drives I've ever had to do for a convention in a long time, but we made it. There was one point on the turnpike where I basically almost swerved into a semi because of a giant gust of wind that had come to my left side. So I was in the left lane, there was a semi right next to me, and a huge gust of wind just like pushed the car, and I had to like jerk the wheel back onto the lane because, oh my gosh, that was scary. So I was very much awake the rest of that drive. Thankfully, I did not drive drowsy. It's not good to do that. Excuse me. And we got to the convention center around 9:30. Now you might be asking yourself, "Wait a minute. I thought you said it was 6 hours." Well, yes, it is 6 hours travel time. However, with the time change, it got us there an hour early. So an hour earlier than expected, only because of that. So we got there about 9:30 Wednesday night. I basically dropped off Wiley and went to the Hyatt Regency, which I am super grateful for because that is the main hotel of the venue. And I dragged myself into the hotel, my tote, my bags, everything. I dropped everything and then just like collapsed on the bed because I was so tired. Uh, I'm just so thankful that we got there in time and we got there without a scratch and no issues. And we braved every single season known to man to get to where we were going. So it didn't stop me though. The minute I got there, I laid down for a little bit and then I immediately got up and I started fursuiting. Like I'm a crazy person, so I put my head on and my paws, and I partialed for the first night. Got some video, met up with some friends immediately. Like I saw them there, and they're like, "Oh, you're here." I'm like, "Yeah, I'm here." And that's always a treat on Wednesday when you can get there early and you can experience sort of like an empty convention space. There were a good amount of people there for the first night, or night zero, I should say, and we just immediately started like vibing and having a good time. So I was just walking around with some friends and taking some pictures and saying hi to people and stuff and getting to suit a little bit the first night. So felt really good. Um, First night didn't not a whole lot happened because there were no events going on and there was really nothing open. So I took the time to just walk around and refamiliarize myself with the Hyatt and the Donald E. Stevens Convention Center and the neighboring hotels and such. So yeah, I just got to chill the first night. It was really nice. Um, I went to sleep at a relatively decent time. Got the room set up and everything. I will say this: it was so nice to be able to just like usually when it comes to arriving at conventions, it's like go go go, like get everything unpacked, get everything ready, suit up, do what you got to do, right? But this first night, it was so nice to be able to just like just unpack and enjoy like the time and not worry about any panels or events or anything going on, and just be able to, just take your time, recuperate from the drive, and just be there, for night zero. So that's what we did. I met up with my roomies. I want to give a huge thank you to Campion, Loopy, and Coda for letting me stay in their room. One of them was a staff member, and they staff members, they get their room set up because they're priority. And the fact that I got to stay in one of them on the main floor of the hotel, the main hotel, by the way. So there were no elevators to take, there were no steps to walk up. It was so nice to just go straight into the room and then come straight back out to the convention center. Like, just one way walk both ways, no stairs, no elevators, just be there and, not have to worry about any of that. Not worry about the flow of traffic or anything like that. So that already set the motion for the convention. Like, huge, like, blessing to be able to have that. So, second day, I immediately started suiting. Like, there was no stopping me. I was out there at like, oh gosh, it had to be like 11 in the morning. I got some breakfast and got in suit, and I suited for about 7 or 8 hours that first day. And that's when, usually Thursday is when I would say most people show up. So I was already meeting people and I was already seeing friends and, enjoying their company and just bringing smiles, saying hi to people, and, just being fluffy the whole time. So that was a real treat, just to get up there and do that immediately. So, I will say most of the time, most of the convention itself was just suiting. Like, I'm super grateful I got to do that because a lot of times with big cons like this, you have a lot of restraints. And what I mean by that is you tend to make too many plans at one time, and it's really hard to follow through on them, and it's really hard to keep commitments to things. So the fact that it mostly consisted of fursuiting and like hanging out with people. That was probably the most special thing about this con was I didn't have to worry so much about being on time to places. I didn't have to worry about so much about being here, or getting there, or anything like that, or running around too much. I just was able to be there, fursuit, get some videos, say hi to people, and hang out with people. So that was like the majority of the weekend was just doing that. And at one point, I got to do what was called the maid raid. So I got in my little maid outfit, and we met down at the convention center, and just a bunch of little maids just all lined up in a row, and we had our little dresses on and our feather dusters and stuff. We took some group photos, and we did our little parade like through the convention center. It was great. We just, we're being pretty maids all the way through. So I'm thankful. I'm thankful to have been able to participate in that, Let's see what else. I do want to mention before we get too deep into it, one of the biggest things, if not the biggest thing, like the biggest blessing that I got to experience for this con was being able to meet those of you who came up to me and said that they enjoyed my content. So, like, there were a lot of you that came up, and a lot of you that said hi to me, a lot of you that took pictures, a lot of you that gave hugs, and I was able to give stickers to and just have a conversation with. Wow, like, an honestly emotional time, like, just being able to meet you guys, and, the fact that you took the time to come up and say hi, and the fact that you, like, the fact that it meant that much to you to come up and say hi and like just say the kindest things and the sweetest things that you were able to express to me was the biggest highlight of this con for me. And it's just honestly, like, I don't have any words for it. You know, it really does mean so much to me that some of you, if not all of you at that con who knew who I was, or, even gave a wit about what I do, took the time to say something. It means so much to me. And, like, getting to really, like, meet you face to face and in person and talk to you and give you a hug, it just, yeah, my heart was on fire that whole time. So, yeah, I just want to express my biggest thank you to every single one who came up and you got to tell me your name and who you were, and, like, some of you were very honest in saying how much, like, my videos have helped you, and, like, the things that I do, like, just bring you that joy and just bring you um even the smallest amount of happiness in, your busy lives. It just, yeah, it really did something to me. It does something to me every single time. And if I could, I would just, I would want to sit down with every single one of you, have a long conversation, and just get to know you, and in a weird way, it's very bittersweet because I know that it's becoming more and more difficult to do that. It's becoming more and more difficult to, like, take the time and, like, really express how much you mean to me, and, like, and vice versa, like, how much, like, I mean to you. And like, that's the bitter part, is, like, the amount of you that there are, and the amount of you that came up just this past weekend alone. If I had the time, and I know it would take a long time, but if I had the time to really tell you how much you mean to me and be able to just, like, sit and talk with you for an hour, maybe 2 hours, yeah, I know that's not going to happen easily. And when it does happen, even if it's for, like, 5 or 10 minutes or even 2 minutes, every single interaction that I have with you guys just means so much to me. And I want it to last longer. I really do. I want it to last, so much longer than it does. And I want to give back as much as I can. But that just means that I will be continuing to make more, and I will continue to do what I do because of what you have said, and because of the support that you've given me and everything that you've done in my life to make this dream a reality. I want to thank you for that. So, to all of you who took the time this weekend, thank you. From the bottom of every part of my being, thank you for that. And I could never repay you for that. So, I'm glad that I got to give you a hug. I'm glad I got to give you a sticker. I'm glad that, you found it in yourself, the confidence and the, just the, because I know what it takes. Trust me, I know what it takes to meet those that you admire so much. And I did that this weekend as well. I was able to go up to people that I admired as well and just say something to them. And I know how hard it is, but the fact that you did that and you took the step to do that, like, it means so much to me. You have no idea. So, I love you all. Thank you for that. Sincerely. I will say, on the note of heartfelt moments, I did get something very special from a friend of mine, and I will try to say this without crying because it's just so beautiful. So, those of you who are familiar with, if you've ever been on the live streams over on the main channel, or if you've ever seen maybe some pictures on social media, or, some interactions between me and this person, the artist known as TaviMunk, who is a tiger chipmunk, He draws a variety of art, and he's very talented. He has been for many years. I've been very much a fan of his art for a long time. I had the opportunity some years ago to meet him at Megaplex 2021, and we got to talk and get to know each other more. And I'm happy to say that I'm happy to call him a friend. So Tavi, if you are listening to this, I am very happy to call you a friend of mine now. So thank you for that. And one of the interactions this weekend was with Tavi. I went up to him. I saw him in the lobby of the Hyatt, and I was like, "Hey, Tavi," and he's like, "Oh, Samson," and we hugged and we said hi, and we were talking a little bit, and I asked him if he would be in my con video. He said absolutely, and so we started doing some video stuff, and we were just talking for the camera and stuff, and then all of a sudden he pulls out something. I don't see what it is because I'm in fursuit. We're both in fursuit, but he pulls out something from his pouch and he holds it up to the camera, and I can't see it right away. But he just starts monologuing about, "Oh, look what I have here." And then I was like, "Oh." And then I glanced at it. He made me a badge, you guys. Tavi made me a badge. He drew me a badge and he laminated it and everything. And my reaction in that video, which you will see here very soon, was I wanted to scream, I wanted to cry, I wanted to jump for joy. I wanted to, like, so many emotions were just running through me at that moment of I just like dropped the camera, not literally, but I just dropped the camera and I was like, "Oh my gosh." Like, I could not believe it. He made me a badge, you guys. Like, he took the time to make a badge just for me, and he handed it to me, and I was like shaking it, and I gave him the biggest hug, and I must have thanked him like 70 times. There was so many thank yous that happened, and uh just that got me so good, and I'm just beyond grateful for his generosity, and I'm so thankful for his just his he thought of me, and the way that he presented it was just so beautiful and in the most incognito sneaky way possible. It's just like, wow. Like, I think he knew what he was doing in that moment, and it just made the moment all more special. And that moment really gave me just the most appreciation. Like, wow, I know so many people. I know so many amazing people in this fandom, and I would not trade them for the world. And the fact that he took the time to do that, oh my gosh, I'm thinking back on that moment, and it still makes me want to cry to this day. Like, oh, you guys, you have no idea. Like, I followed his art for a long time. I followed him as a content creator for a long time, and the fact that he took the time to do that, just it broke me. I'm not gonna lie, it broke me in the best way possible. So, without getting more and more mushy about it, thank you, Tavi, for thinking of me and for giving me that badge. And you know it was a complete gift. Like, I would have given you probably upwards of hundreds of dollars for something like that, but here you are presenting it to me as a gift, and that is something that I will never forget. And to those of you who are wondering, it is a it's a little Santa Claus badge. He drew me in Santa Paws form, actually. So I will link it in the description so you can go look at it for yourself. I did post it on Twitter, so yeah, you can take a look at it. But oh, that was one of the sweetest gifts I've ever received, and I will wear it proudly this Christmas season. In fact, I pretty much wore it the entirety of the weekend. So yeah, I wore it with pride. I wore it with admiration and just thankfulness. And yeah, I I still can't describe the feeling that I have from that. It just was so amazing, and I don't deserve it. I really do not deserve such a beautiful thing from such a talented artist. So thank you, Tavi, once again. So so yeah, that was another big highlight. And um, to kind of reel it back a little bit, without making this a sappy podcast, but I hope that Tavi, if you're listening to this, I hope that you know how much it means to me, and I'll never be able to repay you for it. You know. So, other than that, I did get to meet some other amazing people. I got to meet one of my favorite fursuiters of all time who happened to be there, which I had no idea he was going to even show up. And it was kind of like a bit of a dream sequence in a way. So let me kind of set it up for you. On Saturday, they have every year at MFF, they have a reindeer parade. Basically, all the deer, caribou, and other antler friends that are romping around the convention, they do a little parade. So they walk with Santa Claus, who was also at the con. They Santa is leading them, and all the all the deer fursuiters are following behind him. And I swear there had to be like 100 of them. Oh my gosh! And they all had their bells, and I think they had reins too. Like they were carrying reins, so Santa was just leading them through, and they were walking through, just being deer. Merry Christmas, right? So, got to catch some of that, and then they go up to the Hyatt lobby because they're doing a little parade, and they're walking all the way through the con space and the hotel spaces. And at one point, I got caught in the middle of the circle of them. So they were circling around the Hyatt lobby. And just for a little bit of perspective, the Hyatt lobby is on the second floor of the hotel, and it goes in kind of a big circle. So like the elevators are in the center, and then it kind of circles around the like front desk and like the restaurants and the bars and such. And so the reindeer were circling around, and I somehow got caught in the middle. I'm in fursuit, by the way. I got caught in the middle, but I'm also caught in the middle with another fursuiter, and we literally bumped into each other. Like, whoops, excuse me, like that kind of a bump in. You know the feeling where you bump into somebody and you're like, there's something special about this person. Well, I bumped into him, and I said, "Oh, excuse me." He's like, "Oh, no problem." And then I looked at him, and I recognized him. I was like, "Hey." So I tapped him on the shoulder. He turns around, and I said, "Hey, what's your name?" And he looked at his badge, and he said, "Oh, I'm Scroy." And I'm like, "No, you're not." And he's like, "Yeah, I am." And I looked at him again. I was like, "Oh my gosh, you're Scroy." "What? You're here?" He's like, "Yeah, I'm here." And I was like, "What? This is crazy." Like, okay, so a little bit of context for you. Scroy was one of the first ever fursuiters I saw of all time. Like I've mentioned this before. The first fursuit I ever saw officially was Electrofox. Shout out to Electro, and like on YouTube. And then Scroy is another fursuiter who I saw in like has got to be like 1,000 con videos from the past. Like back when I was a young furry researching like cons and like convention videos and seeing fursuiters and fursuits and all that stuff. Like going too deep into the furry fandom, like finding like, oh, what's fursuiting all about? What are conventions all about? That kind of thing. Scroy just kept popping up. And those of you who might know the name, he's a gray, I believe he's a Fulf, if I remember correctly. And he's gray, he's got red hair and big blue eyes. Like that was kind of his trademark. He also had Heelys in his fursuit paws, which I thought was kind of cool. Anyway, so there he is in front of me. And I'm like, no freaking way. Because I have not seen him anywhere. Like, I've been to a lot of conventions over the past few years, but I have not seen him anywhere. I haven't seen him in a con video since probably like 2015 or 2016, something like that. And there he is right in front of me. And I'm like, oh my gosh. So I was like, can I have a hug? He's like, oh, absolutely. So we hugged, and I asked him to be in my con video, and he said yes. And he was just the coolest person, like the nicest individual ever. And like I may have I may have had a bit of a fan moment there for some time. And I warned him. I was like, hey, listen, this is gonna sound really crazy, but you're like the first one of the first fursuiters I ever saw in so many convention videos. He's like, oh, no kidding. And we had a nice conversation. And like, yeah, that was just, it was so surreal just seeing him there, because after not seeing him at many cons over the past however many years, I'd never seen him at a con, as a matter of fact, just to be clear. And there he was in front of me. I kind of at some point let it go. Like, I had let go of the I guess the dream, or the, the thought that I would ever meet him, because I've always wanted to meet him, right? And I'm sure those of you listening, you know the feeling. Like, if an artist, like a musical artist or somebody, retires, or they're never going to go on tour again or something like that, you're kind of like, oh, well, there goes that. I guess I'll never see them live, or I'll never see them in person, or get to meet them because they retired or whatever. So that's kind of the feeling I had. And yet, there he was. And I got to speak with him, and I got to tell him basically everything I just told you guys. Like, yeah, like, it blew my mind. And it honestly really set, like, the tone of this convention, of just like, wow, this con is so memorable. Like, this is one of the most memorable cons I have ever had in my life. And, whew, man, like, I'm just so thankful. I'm still super grateful that I got to see him and meet him and talk with him, and like just tell him like how much he means, and like how much I admired his work and everything that he did in the past and still continues to do. Um, but yeah, that it just blew my mind. Like, it just goes to show, I think the big takeaway from that is it just goes to show that nothing is impossible. Things happen for a reason, and even when you give up, that doesn't mean that they can't still happen. So, yeah, thank you, Scroy. If you ever listen to this, thank you for um, just making a random appearance at MFF this year. And I'm just so grateful, just by happenstance, that we were in the exact same place at the exact same time, being surrounded by deer, probably the most ideal way that you can be at a furry convention. And it was like, there is no question that things just don't happen for a reason, because they do. Because like that one example right there just says to me like how things work out. And even when we think something is impossible, it is possible. So that is something I'll also never forget. And it really brings a lot of humility. It taught me a lot in that moment, just to be always keep my eyes open, keep your heart open, and just know that that thing that you're hoping for might still happen. Even if it's years later, it can still happen. So, yeah, I got to meet one of the people I really admire in this fandom after so many years. And it just, man, like, the feeling that I can't even describe to you. It makes me feel like, I could be that person for somebody someday, And I know that you listener, listening to this now, you can be that person for somebody someday. So never give up. Mm. So other than that, yeah, let's see. I have a little track list here of things. Oh, I should talk about a couple other things that have been on my mind. Um, maybe, maybe, maybe this is a topic for another time. But I had a, I was having a bit of a thought on the way home, only because of my interactions at this convention. Uh, and I'm going to say this as respectfully as I can, and I'm going to say it as, how do I say, basically the various interests in the furry fandom, right? One of those things, and as controversial as this may seem, or as odd as it may seem, I do want to talk about one set of furries in particular, and that is Babyfurs. Okay, so I noticed that there are a fair amount at this convention, and there have been in the past. And as a matter of fact, any convention that you go to, they're there. So, but what I came to realize is that we really don't need to be selective. You know, we don't need to single out anybody from this community, right? And I've heard a lot about different types of furries in the past, and for some reason, baby furs just tends to keep coming up as a topic, and I'm just like, why? You know? So the way I see it, you know, they are just like you and I, and I don't even want them to be a they. I don't want it to be like a, regular furries versus them. No, because we are one fandom. You know, we all have our interests. We all have our things in the fandom that we're interested in. We all have our things in the fandom that make us happy. And the big takeaway with that is, as long as you're not hurting anybody or hurting yourself or anything like that, and you can be happy, then go for it. Go with what you're interested in, go with what you want to do what you want to do, meet like-minded people. That's what the fandom has been about and what it always will be about. We are here in this fandom to make our place. And whatever our interests are, whatever we like to do and whatever we don't like to do, we should do it or we should not do it. So if something is not your thing, then you don't have to do it. You don't have to you don't have to participate. You don't have to, you don't have to be forced into anything. You can say no, you can say yes. And I think that's another big takeaway is like having the ability to say yes and no is a big part of success in many ways, right? So, and all that to say, I have a fair amount of people that I know and that I love and I respect and that I call friends who are in fact baby furs. And I want you to know that I see you and I care about you and I love you for who you are. You, nobody, anybody listening to this should not be ashamed. Okay? And there may be people who look at you or look at, a certain group or anything like that and say, oh, that's weird. But let's be honest here. We're all weird. We are all weird in this fandom, and we're all weird in this crazy game we call life. As a matter of fact, I got to spend some time with a new friend that I met on Sunday night of all nights. It was like the very, very end of the convention. And he was somebody who came up to me and he was like, oh, hi, I like your stuff and I like what you post and I am, I do admire you. So it started off that way, but then he told me that he was into baby fur activities. And I was like, that is okay. You can be yourself. And the conversation kind of went like, yeah, I didn't want to tell you right away because I thought you would think I was weird or, I thought you would think that it was weird or whatever. And you know what I did in that moment? We were sitting down, we were chatting, and I said, hey, look up and look around you. Point to me the one person in this space that you see right now who is not weird in their own way, who is not, who is not quirky in their own way, who is not different in their own way, right? And he was like, yeah, I guess you're right. And I was like, yeah, if none of us were weird, or if we all thought each other were weird or whatever, we would not be here right now. So you can do what you like. You can be who you are. And that is the most important thing about this fandom, is being who you are, being yourself. That's been like I said, that's been the encouragement of this fandom for, gosh, who knows how long, We're all in this together. And no matter what you find interesting, whatever find yourself, wherever you find yourself in this fandom, and whatever interests you find yourself liking in this fandom, you can be yourself. You can be you. And you should not feel shame for that at all. So, if that were the case, I would not have the friends that I do. I would not look to those who I love and respect as friends and individuals just because, and ostracize them just because of one interest or one thing that they're into. So, if you're into something, you should be into it, And I think that's the main thing that I wanted to say, is you can be yourself. It doesn't matter who you are. It doesn't matter what you're interested in. So let's not make it an us versus them anymore. Let's not be, that's the weird crowd, or that's the weird people. No. We're all one fandom. And we all, be it dysfunctional, we all gel together in some weird way. Literally, in some weird way. Because if it wasn't for us being ourselves, being different, then it wouldn't be weird. And you know what? Not being weird, that's boring. Because otherwise you'd be normal. Who wants normal? I don't want normal. I don't even know what normal is. So, again, as long as you're not hurting anybody or hurting anyone else, causing harm or, breaking any legal bounds or anything like that, then go for it. Yeah. So I hope that made sense. And if you like what you like, then you should do it. So I think that's just been something that's been on my heart. And as hard as that is to say, as hard as it is to bring up, and by the way, it shouldn't even be a controversial topic in the first place. Like, I don't know why people shy away from it, but I'm here to speak it, and I'm here to be transparent and to let you know that you are valid, no matter who you are. So, to those of you whom I love and respect and who I call friends, keep doing you and keep being yourself. So, that's been something that I've been thinking about on the ride home, mostly, because I spent a lot of time in thought and post-con depression on the drive home. So it did, it really, really brought a lot of perspective out, and I think it was important to speak that here. Speaking of perspective, I do want to put out there that there were a couple of things that I was not proud of for this con. One of them was that one night I may have had a few too many adult beverages. And the other thing was there were a couple people that I didn't get to hang out with that I really intended to. And that's really difficult for a big con, is because it's just so, like, there's so many things to do and there's so many people to see in less than 4 days, So the adult beverages portion was especially difficult because I don't like myself when I get that way. I didn't get like super, how do you want to say, trashed, I guess is the right word. But still, I'm not a fan of my behavior when I get that way. So, thankfully, nothing like super crazy happened. Nothing damaging happened. There were no real relationships. Nothing like that. It was just basically how I was acting, and some of the words I was saying that I wasn't very keen on later. And I did end up talking to the people that I had said and behaved those certain ways around, and there was no harm, no foul. We worked it out. We were able to move on, and we were able to heal from it. So I'm just grateful that it wasn't as bad as it could have been, and to the people that I didn't get to see very much or didn't get to see at all, that's something that I wish would have been different, you know? And those things are going to happen. And it's all about self control, mostly in that situation. But it's also about making the effort, you know? And sometimes when you make the effort and the people don't give the effort straight back to you, it makes it more difficult. Like, it's hard to do your best in making plans or, making an effort from yourself, but if that other person isn't reciprocating, that's one thing. But if it's an open opportunity and you're both, willing to make plans or hang out or something like that, and one of them doesn't follow through, in my case, it happened a couple times. I could have followed through better on seeing people that I intended to see or spending time with people that I wanted to. And as far as the adult beverages portion goes, I could have acted differently. I could have chosen to not indulge so much, and I could have, restrained from my foolish behaviors, and I could have, used words differently. But uh, as much as that is hard to say, as much as those things are hard to say, I am just grateful that we were able to talk about it and we were able to work it out together, as friends. And we we got to that point of healing, and we can move on and learn from it. So, and believe me, it wasn't just me. Like there were plenty of people that I could have pointed out and thought the same thing about, but I'm gonna choose not to. I'm not going to fault anybody for anything because it's not my place to judge. It's not my place to point fingers. Only because I've been that person. I've been the person on both sides. So, yeah, to those of you who had to experience my tipsiness, um, my apologies, but I am glad that we were able to work it out, and I'm glad that we were able to be honest and open about it, and we're able to see it for what it was. And to those who I didn't get to hang out with, I know I could have done a better job in making the effort and seeing you and hanging out with you and spending time wherever possible. But, as I said, everybody's con experience is different. What you put into it is what you get out of it. And in this case, I guess it just wasn't meant to happen, And that's not to say that it won't happen in the future. We have plenty of time and opportunities to make those things happen whenever they come about. And I'm looking forward to those times. But yeah, I do want to thank those who were so understanding in my belligerence, in my stupor, as it were. I just want to say how much I appreciate you all for just taking the time to give and show so much care in that situation. So, yeah, until next time, we'll continue to have fun together, and we will continue to build our community, and we'll continue to um, keep ourselves accountable, I think is the big thing, As long as we keep ourselves accountable and we keep each other accountable, then that's what real friendship is. So, So that's one, I would say, two negatives of this past weekend. But you know what? I'm gonna choose not to dwell on them because dwelling on them only brings anxiety and sadness, and we don't need any more of that than we already have. We're coming to the end of this, but I do want to talk about one other thing, actually two other things that happened, um, aside from the convention. Okay, so that was basically the entirety of the con that I described to you. Aside from a couple other things, like I went to some room parties. I went to some panels and like the inflatable furs meet, the fat furs meet and greet, which is really fun. Got to meet some cool people there, and at the inflatables meet. As a matter of fact, at the inflatables meet, before I veer off too far, um, I was in there with another friend of mine, and we were just hanging out and looking at the cute squeaky creatures, and just saying hi to people and meeting new ones and stuff. But at one point during the inflatables meet, we were just hanging out, and all of a sudden we heard a giant kaboom, like a pop sound, and all of us in tandem, like verbatim at the same time, like we all ducked because it sounded what I can only be described as a gunshot. Like it was so loud and like so just, yeah, it was it was definitive. And turns out one of the poor inflatables exploded. Oh no, that's not what you want to hear at one of those panels. So, and then it went from like a sense of shock and all of us like ducking and covering our heads to immediate sadness. Like, oh no, one of them popped. No. And it was just this collective feeling of just, we were all so sad that had happened. And, I mean, you're going to get that sometimes at those meets, but wow, that was sad. That was a sad moment for that time. Ugh. It just, yeah, really, it really caught us off guard. But I'm hoping that whoever had that inflatable or whoever owned it can patch it up, and it can be good. It can be all fixed and better. So, yeah, just talk about things happening at the right place at the wrong time. There it is, an inflatable exploding. Oh, I'm still sad about it. Uh, so that's pretty much all I wanted to talk about for the convention. But I did want to talk about two things that happened uh, today, and one of the things. This is one of those right place, right time things, right? Um, it was when I was pulling into my driveway, and I don't know if you all are familiar with the song. What is it? You Didn't Know by it's from Has Been Hotel. It's song You Didn't Know, and its basic loose context is when Charlie, the main character, is in heaven, making a case for uh, people being redeemed. Uh, Emily, one of the other characters, she's a Saraphim. She's the younger Saraphim of the two, because you have Saraphim, right? And then Emily's the younger Saraphim. She's saying, "Oh, but Charlie's right, and there should be, some sort of redemption that happens, for the people in hell." And yeah, it's a whole iceberg. Those of you who watch Has Been Hotel, you know what I'm talking about. But anyway, I was thinking about that song as I was driving in from the cons tonight, and I was unloading my car, and that song was stuck in my head, like Emily singing, um, you know, she was right, Sarah, right? And just keep that character in mind. Keep the character Emily in mind for a second, okay? That song is stuck in my head. Emily's singing it, and as I'm unloading my car, I then get approached by a complete stranger. And she was like, "Hi, excuse me." And I was like, "Oh, hi." And mind you, it's like 8 o'clock at night. I'm tired. I just drove for 8 hours, seemingly. It felt like 8 hours anyway. And she was like, I was like, oh, hi, who are you? And she goes, my name is Emily. And I'm like, what? Right? As the song is stuck in my head, this person named Emily just approaches me, and she was like, "Can you help me? My car battery is dead. Are you able to give me a jump?" And I'm like, "Oh yeah, absolutely." So long story short, we get her car jumped after we couldn't figure out how to do it for like 10 minutes, but that's neither here nor there. But it kind of caught me off guard. Like, wow, I'm thinking about this song that has the character Emily in it, and then I get approached by some random person named Emily who needs help. And the song is about helping people. So that's weird. Just it's just another case of wow, like this how does this happen? Like how in the world does something like this happen? It's just yeah, things just lining up perfectly. Like this person named Emily approaches me asking me to help her with her car, and lo and behold, I'm listening to a song in my head where the character Emily from Hazbin Hotel is singing it. So I don't know what to make of that. I really don't. I don't think that's coincidence. I think there's got to be a deeper meaning there. So I'm gonna chew on that a little bit more. But let me know what you think about that in the comments. It just worked out a little too well. It just happened too perfectly. So yeah, that's something I won't forget either. It's just this whole weekend has just been full of those like perfect accidents, and I'm floored, honestly, by the reality of the situations. So how these things happened perfectly and in line and just worked out the way that they did, I don't know. It just feels like fate is turning its head on me. And maybe that's a good thing. Maybe it just means that I need to pay attention to my surroundings more and live in the moment more. Speaking of living in the moment, uh, which I didn't believe at first, but I had to look it up for myself. Someone over the weekend mentioned that on The Masked Singer, like the show The Masked Singer, Sarah Palin, former governor of Alaska, Sarah Palin, aka vice president nominee 2008, 2012, 2000, no, 2008, that's what it was on the show wearing a bear fursuit. So I was like, okay, I need to go look this up. And at first I didn't believe it because they were like, oh yeah, did you know Sarah Palin's a furry? And I'm like, no, she's not. And then they were like, yeah, she was on The Masked Singer. She was wearing a bear fursuit. And I was like, okay. So when I got home, that's one of the first things I did is I looked it up. And sure enough, there she was. Sarah Palin on The Masked Singer wearing a bear fursuit. So that, and granted, this is like ancient history now. This is like back in 2020 or something like that when this happened, but wow, I had no idea. And sure enough, there it was. So it was a pretty good suit, if I have to say, like, I have to be honest, but wow, like, they weren't kidding. I don't know if she's a furry necessarily because the explanation she gave is that there are a lot of bears in Alaska, so she's used to them, so a bear just kind of made sense. And by the way, for those of you who are interested, she was singing Baby Got Back. So, okay. So, if you're interested, I will link it down in the description, and you can check it out for yourself. But yeah, former governor slash vice president nominee Sarah Palin was on The Masked Singer wearing a bear fursuit singing Baby's Got Back. Or Baby Got Back. I don't know. I don't even listen to that song. All right, anyway, that's the podcast. I'm going to go pass out now. So I want to thank you all once again for listening, and thank you all for those of you who came up to me this weekend and said hi and expressed your appreciation. I just want you to know how much I appreciate you. Thank you to Tavi. Thank you to Scroy. Thank you to all my friends and every single one I got to meet and those I admire, and just all the staff, volunteers, hotel staff, charity. Oh yeah, by the way, MFF raised over $135,000 for the Street Dog Coalition, and there were over 16,800 attendees for this con. So a little tidbit for you, I forgot to mention, but huge numbers, and I am absolutely enamored. Like I am just, yeah, I'm blown away by those numbers entirely. So yeah, I would say all in all, it was a successful weekend, and I'm going to go sleep it off. So until next time, until next year, MFF, I will see you then. Thank you again, every single person who made it so special, so memorable, and possibly made it the best con of the entire year. So, like always, I want to wish you the same thing that I always do. Remember the phrase, sic Parvis Magna. Greatness from small beginnings. No matter where you are, where you started, just remember your roots. Remember where you came from. Oftentimes, when you lack motivation, take a look back and see where you started. And maybe you can find something there. Maybe you can find something there that'll give you that extra little push or nudge to go in the right direction. Remember that you're on a journey and you have a purpose to fulfill. And no one can take that from you. So keep going, keep doing it, and never give up. In the same way, always be you, be yourself. Don't let anyone ever tell you who you can and can't be or what you can and can't do. That is for you to decide on both accounts. And there has never been anyone like you in this world. There will never be anyone like you in the future. And there has never been anyone like you in this entire plane of existence. So only you can do the things the way that you can. And the way that you do them is the way that you do them best. The world needs you, and only you. So keep giving the world what you do and who you are, and show them what you're made of. And until next time, this is Samson Kitty Fox. Thank you for listening. Thank you for making this dream come true for me every single day. I am forever in your debt. I can never repay you. And it is why I do the things that I do, is because of your support. So, until then, I love you all. Thank you so much for listening. And I will see you in the next one. Bye. Bye-bye. Love you.